Ambassador had conducted first contact with 47 different species over his 300 years of service. He had met civilizations that communicated through light patterns, others that spoke in mathematical harmonics, and one memorable species that expressed themselves entirely through carefully choreographed dances. None of them had prepared him for humanity. The ship hung in orbit above the blue and green planet, its sensors drinking in every detail. Earth was a beautiful world, rich with water and teeming with life. The Galactic Concord had been monitoring human radio signals for decades, waiting for the right moment to make contact. When humanity achieved faster-than-light communication 6 months ago, the Concord knew the time had come. Studied the data screens in his chamber, his skin shifting through calm blue patterns. His species, had evolved on a world where showing teeth meant only one thing: you were about to attack. It was a universal constant among the prey species of the galaxy, which made up 90% of all spacefaring civilizations. Predators rarely developed the cooperation needed for advanced technology. They fought too much among themselves. The humans had been remarkably cooperative during the preliminary communications. Their messages were warm, welcoming, and full of excitement. They had designated a landing site at their United Nations headquarters in New York City. They had prepared welcoming ceremonies and assigned their best diplomats. Everything was proceeding perfectly. His team consisted of 5 species, each chosen for their diplomatic skill. There was whose compound eyes could detect the slightest emotional shifts in body language. The representative, flowing through depth, remained in its mobile water tank, its tentacles weaving patterns of cautious optimism. 2 small furry beings who communicated through harmonized song, completed the delegation. All of them had studied human culture through their broadcasts and felt confident they understood this new species. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere on a clear spring morning, watched through the viewing port as the city grew larger below them. The humans had cleared a massive area for the landing, and thousands of them had gathered to witness the historic moment. Their technology was primitive by galactic standards, but their enthusiasm was infectious. The shuttle touched down with barely a whisper, checked his translator one final time, and signaled his team. They had rehearsed this moment dozens of times. First contact was delicate work, requiring precision and cultural sensitivity. One wrong gesture could doom relations for generations. The shuttle door opened and stepped out onto human soil for the first time. The air was rich with oxygen, the gravity slightly heavy but manageable. Thousands of human eyes watched him from behind barriers. Their security forces stood at attention, weapons holstered in a gesture of peace. Everything looked perfect. A group of humans approached from a prepared pathway. The lead figure was a woman of middle years, dressed in formal attire. This would be Secretary General Maria Santos, the human chosen to represent their entire species. Had studied her file extensively. She was known for her diplomatic skill and had helped negotiate peace between warring human nations. She was, by all accounts, the perfect choice for this historic meeting. Maria Santos walked forward with measured steps, her delegation following behind. She held one hand extended in the human greeting gesture they had discussed over radio communications. Had practiced the response. He would touch her hand briefly with his own manipulator appendage, a simple physical contact to establish trust. But then Maria Santos smiled. It was a wide, genuine smile that showed her teeth clearly. Not just a few teeth, but rows of them, white and sharp in the morning sunlight. The humans behind her saw their leader smile, and they smiled too. Dozens of them, all showing their teeth at once. Skin flashed from blue to bright red in an instant. His translator shrieked with alarm signals. Behind him, he heard his mandibles clicking in the distress pattern. Flowing through depths released a cloud of dark ink into its tank. The eyes stopped mid-song, their harmony breaking into discordant alarm chirps. Every species in the galaxy knew what bared teeth meant. It was the universal sign of aggression, the promise of violence. Prey showed teeth only when cornered and desperate. Predators showed teeth when they were about to strike. There was no exception to this rule, no situation where displaying your primary weapons was a friendly gesture. Security training took over. His hand moved to the emergency beacon on his harness. Around him, the security detail raised energy barriers with practiced speed. The barriers hummed to life, creating a shimmering wall between the aliens and the humans. Maria Santos stopped walking. Her smile faltered, confusion crossing her face. She looked at her hand, still extended, then back at the aliens. She said something in her language, and the translator rendered it as, "Is something wrong? We mean no harm." But she was still smiling. They were all still smiling. The translator picked up the teeth displays from dozens of humans and categorized them as coordinated threat postures, pack behavior, intelligent pack hunters showing their weapons in unison. High scuttled backward, its many legs moving in panic patterns. "They're surrounding us," it chittered. "Multiple threat displays from all directions. This is a trap." Forced himself to think clearly despite the fear hormones flooding his system. The humans hadn't actually attacked. They were just standing there, still showing their teeth. Maria Santos lowered her hand slowly, and her expression changed to one of concern. But concern looked aggressive too. Humans had forward-facing eyes, predator eyes, and when they focused both eyes on you, it triggered every prey instinct that evolution had burned into species over millions of years. "We need to withdraw," flowing through depths pulsed through its translator. "This species is more dangerous than we assessed. They display aggression during greeting ceremonies. They are not ready for contact." Wanted to argue, but his skin was still flashing red alarm patterns he couldn't control. His hands were shaking. Behind the barriers, more humans were gathering, and many of them were showing their teeth too. The human young ones, the children, were also displaying teeth. Even their offspring were participating in the threat display. Maria Santos took a step forward, and every alien took a step back. She stopped immediately, raising both hands in what might have been a gesture of peace. But then she spoke again, and as she spoke, her teeth showed even more. The translator worked frantically to interpret both her words and her body language, creating a confused mess of signals. The words said please and misunderstanding and friendship, but the body language screamed threat and danger and predator. "Abort the mission," said quietly. His translator broadcasted to the team. "Maintain barriers and return to the shuttle." They backed away slowly, never turning away from the humans. That was another universal rule. Never turn your back on a predator showing teeth. The human security forces moved as the aliens retreated, and that movement sent another wave of panic through the delegation. They were being herded. The predators were cutting off escape routes. The shuttle door had never looked so welcoming. The aliens scrambled inside, and the door sealed behind them with a solid thunk. Through the viewing ports, could see Maria Santos standing in the middle of the landing area, her hands still raised. She was talking rapidly to the other humans around her, and they all looked confused and upset. But they were still showing their teeth. The shuttle lifted off faster than protocol recommended. Within minutes, they were breaking through the atmosphere, and within an hour, they were back aboard the main ship. Went straight to the medical bay, where the doctor examined his stress indicators and prescribed mild sedatives for the entire team. The ship's captain, an elderly named, met in the observation deck. Together they watched Earth rotate slowly below them, peaceful and beautiful and full of humans who smiled. "I've sent my report to the Conquered Council," said softly. "They're reviewing the footage now. What's your assessment?" Skin rippled with uncertain patterns. "I don't know." The humans seemed surprised by our reaction, but the threat displays were unmistakable. Every member of our team saw it. The translators confirmed it. By every standard measure we have, they behaved aggressively. "But they didn't attack." "No, they didn't attack." Touched the viewing port with one appendage. "Maybe they were testing us. Maybe it's a dominance display, showing that they could attack but choosing not to. Some predator species do that. Or maybe we miss something, said quietly. Maybe there's something about human culture we don't understand. 3 centuries of first contact experience, said. 47 successful integrations, and I've never been this wrong before. If we did miss something, it's unlike anything in the galactic database. Below them, Earth continued its rotation. Radio signals were already streaming up from the surface, human voices asking what went wrong, pleading for another chance, trying to explain something. But couldn't listen to them now. His hands were finally stopping their shaking, and his skin was fatting back to normal colors. First contact with humanity had lasted less than 5 minutes. It would go down in the history databases as one of the shortest and most disastrous first contacts on record, and still didn't understand what had gone wrong. He only knew that humans smiled, and that smile had ended everything before it could begin. Dr. James stood in the UN observation room and watched the alien ship disappear into the upper atmosphere on the tracking screens. Around him, diplomats and scientists argued in a dozen languages, all of them trying to understand what had just happened. They ran away the moment we smiled, Maria Santos said for the 10th time. She sat at the conference table, her head in her hands. We practiced everything. We studied their communications. We prepared for months, and they ran away because we smiled. James pulled up the footage on his tablet, watching it frame by frame. The moment Maria smiled, every alien had reacted with obvious panic. Their body language screamed fear, even across the species barrier. The barriers had come up instantly, and the whole delegation had retreated like frightened animals. "Play it again," he said to the technician. "Focus on the lead alien, the one with the color-changing skin." The footage replayed on the main screen. The alien's skin shifted from blue to red the instant Maria's smile appeared. Red was pretty universal for danger across most of Earth's species. If aliens used color the same way, red probably meant alarm or threat. "They thought we were threatening them," James said slowly. "The smile, they interpreted the smile as aggression." The room went quiet. Everyone turned to look at him. "That's insane," someone said. "Smiling is how humans show happiness. It's friendly, it's welcoming." "To us," James said. "But think about it. What are we showing when we smile? Our teeth, our primary weapons from an evolutionary standpoint. We're showing them that we have the equipment to bite and tear." Maria looked up. "But context matters. We were clearly friendly. We weren't acting aggressive." "Were we?" James pulled up more footage, this time from the alien perspective that had been briefly transmitted before they fled. "Look at it from their view. We're bipedal predators with forward-facing eyes. We have no visible defensive features like shells or armor. That means we're either prey with no defenses, which we clearly aren't, or predators so efficient we don't need defenses. And the first thing we did was show our weapons while approaching them in a coordinated group." The room absorbed this in silence. "How many species in the galaxy do you think evolved as predators?" James asked. "Real apex predators, I mean, persistence hunters like us." "We don't know enough about galactic biology," someone answered. "Exactly. But if most intelligent species evolved from prey animals, or at least from omnivores who faced predation, then showing teeth would mean the same thing to all of them. Danger, threat, attack imminent." Maria Santos stood up slowly. "So we doomed first contact because we tried to be friendly." "We doomed first contact because we are friendly," James corrected. "Because humans evolved to turn their predator nature into social bonding. We show our teeth to people we like. We smile at bobbies. We smile when we're happy to see someone. We took the most threatening gesture in nature and made it mean love." "That's beautiful," someone whispered. "That's terrifying," someone else replied. "To them, we're predators who show our weapons when we're happy. What does that make us look like?" James closed his eyes. "Like the most dangerous species they've ever encountered." The observation room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had reached for the stars with open arms and a smile, and the galaxy had seen only teeth and terror. This report reached the Galactic Concord within hours. The Council convened an emergency session, bringing together representatives from every member species. They watched the footage from Earth over and over, analyzing every detail. The debate raged for days. Some council members argued for immediate quarantine, citing humanity's obvious predator nature. Others called for patience, suggesting there must be cultural factors the conquered didn't understand. A few even proposed military monitoring, just in case humanity proved hostile. Ambassador attended the sessions remotely, his skin flickering with exhausted patterns. He had answered the same questions 100 times, but the council wanted to hear it again and again. What did the humans say? How did they move? What were their weapons? Were there any signs of deception? The humans have been sending messages continuously since we departed, the council leader announced. They claim the teeth display was meant to be friendly. They insist it was a misunderstanding. Of course they would say that, someone argued. Predators use deception, it's how they hunt. But they haven't acted hostile, another voice countered. They prepared a peaceful welcome. They disarmed their security forces. They seemed genuinely confused when we retreated. Watched the debate unfold, feeling more uncertain than he had in centuries. Everything he knew about xenobiology said the humans had displayed aggression, but everything about their actual behavior suggested peaceful intent. The two facts didn't match, and that gap bothered him more than the fear had. We need more data, the council leader finally declared. Humanity will be placed under preliminary quarantine while we study them further. No direct contact will be attempted until we understand their behavioral patterns better. Ambassador, you and your team will remain in orbit and observe. Report any significant developments. The decision was made. Earth was now a quarantine world, cut off from the galactic community before humanity even knew that community existed. And all because humans smiled when they were happy. Return to the observation deck and look down at Earth again. The radio signals kept coming, human voices pleading for understanding, explaining their culture, trying desperately to fix what had broken. He wanted to believe them, but 300 years of experience told him that showing teeth meant only one thing. And yet doubt gnawed at him, because the humans hadn't attacked, they hadn't chased. They had just stood there looking confused and sad while their potential friends fled in terror. Maybe, thought just maybe, there was something new to learn about the universe, something that 3 centuries of experience hadn't taught him. But for now, Earth remained quarantined. First contact had failed, and humanity was alone. 3 months passed in frustration. Earth sent hundreds of messages to the alien ship in orbit, each one trying to explain human culture, human emotions, human gestures. They sent videos of humans greeting each other, of parents smiling at children, of friends laughing together. They sent academic papers on human evolution and social bonding. They sent art, music, and literature, anything that might help the aliens understand. The aliens received every message, analyzed every video, and grew more confused. The humans showed their teeth constantly. They showed teeth when greeting loved ones. They showed teeth when happy. They showed teeth in their entertainment broadcasts. It was everywhere, this constant display of weapons during peaceful situations. It makes no evolutionary sense, Hai said during one of the daily analysis meetings. They had been studying human behavior obsessively, trying to find patterns. Predators don't show weapons unless they intend to use them. It's wasteful signaling. It gives away your advantage. Unless the weapons aren't the point, said slowly. He had been having this thought more and more lately, but it still felt wrong somehow. What if the teeth display serves a different purpose for humans? What other purpose could it serve? Flowing through Depp's pulsed. Teeth are for biting, that's their function. Pulled up a video on the main screen. It showed a human female holding a small human infant. The infant made sounds, and the female showed her teeth in response. The infant then showed its own tiny teeth back. The exchange repeated several times, and both humans seemed to be experiencing positive emotions based on their body language. "That infant is too young to understand threat displays," said. "It can't even walk yet, but it's already showing teeth, and the adult is rewarding the behavior. They're teaching their young to do this." Teaching their young to threaten others, Hai clicked. It confirms they're a warrior species. Or, said carefully, they're teaching their young something else entirely, something we don't have a word for. The room fell silent as the team considered this. The idea was uncomfortable. In all of galactic history, no species had been discovered that used aggressive displays for friendly purposes. It went against every understanding of evolutionary biology. And yet, the evidence was right there on the screen. Entered the observation room, his skin showing urgent orange patterns. "We have a situation. The conquered science vessel studying Jupiter's moons has sent a distress signal. They've suffered a catastrophic systems failure." Turned away from the screens. "How bad?" "Life support is failing. Their emergency backup didn't engage. They have maybe 6 hours of breathable atmosphere left." Skin darkened. "The nearest conquered vessel is us, and we're 5.5 hours away at maximum speed." The implication hung in the air like a weight. They couldn't reach the science vessel in time. The crew would die before help arrived. Felt his skin shift through grief patterns automatically. "Wait," Hai said suddenly. "The humans have a ship, that experimental FTL craft they launched last month. Where is it?" Checked his console. "In Earth's orbital space conducting test flights. It's 43 minutes away from Jupiter." "Can they reach the science vessel in time?" "Yes. If they left immediately and their craft performs as projected, they could reach our people with several hours to spare." Skin rippled with conflicting patterns. "You want to ask the Predators for help?" "They're the only ones close enough," said quietly. "We can request assistance under galactic emergency protocols. Even species not in the conquered are bound by those protocols." "But we don't know if humans will honor protocols they never agreed to," Flowing Through Depths pointed out. "We put them under quarantine. We rejected their friendship. They might refuse out of spite. Or they might see our vulnerable crew as prey," Hai added darkly. Looked at the video still frozen on the screen, the human showing teeth at its infant. Then he looked at the casualty projections for the science vessel. 23 crew members from 4 different species, all about to die because of equipment failure. "Send the distress signal to Earth," he said. "Mark it as an emergency request under galactic humanitarian protocols, and pray that we didn't misunderstand the humans as badly as I think we did." Captain Sarah was running through pre-flight checks on the Magellan when the alien signal came through. The translation was rough, clearly using human language databases the aliens had compiled, but the message was clear enough. Science vessel in distress, life support failing, requesting immediate assistance. She didn't hesitate. "Navigation, plot a course to these coordinates, maximum speed." "Captain, we haven't received authorization from command," her first officer pointed out. "This could be a diplomatic incident." "There are people dying," Sarah said flatly. "We have the only ship that can reach them in time. Plot the course. I'll deal with the paperwork later." The Magellan's experimental FTL drive spun up with a sound like singing crystal. The ship was humanity's first true interstellar vessel, built with a combination of human engineering and reverse-engineered principles from alien transmissions. It was fast, powerful, and still mostly untested. Course plotted, engaging FTL in 3, 2, 1. Space twisted around them and the stars stretched into lines. Sarah gripped her command chair as the ship leaped forward at speeds that still felt like magic. 43 minutes to Jupiter. They'd make it with time to spare. "Open a channel to the distressed vessel," she ordered. "Let them know we're coming." The response came back in heavily accented English. Human vessel, this is Conquered Science Ship Thousand Waves. We thank you for response, but we must warn you our hull is breached. Rescue will be dangerous. We're coming anyway, Sarah said simply. Hold on, we'll be there soon. She cut the channel and looked at her crew. They were young, most of them, volunteers for humanity's first deep space mission. They hadn't signed up for a rescue operation, but not one of them looked uncertain. You all know these are the same aliens who ran away from us 3 months ago, she said. They think we're dangerous. They put Earth under quarantine. They might not even trust us enough to let us help. Anyone want to back out? No one moved. Her engineer spoke up from his station. They're in trouble, Captain. Doesn't matter what they think of us. We help people in trouble. That's what humans do. Sarah felt a surge of pride in her species. Damn right. Let's show these aliens what humanity is really about. The Thousand Waves was in worse shape than the distress signal had indicated. Its hull had been torn open by a micrometeorite that had somehow gotten through the shields. The wound was small but catastrophic, and the ship was venting atmosphere into space. The crew had sealed themselves into the remaining functional sections, but their air was running out fast. Sarah brought the Magellan alongside carefully. The alien ship was built with completely different engineering principles, all organic curves where human ships had angles. But distress was universal, and she could see the damage clearly enough. Take a team and get those people out, she ordered. Carefully, no sudden movements, they're already terrified of us. Suited up with 3 other crew members, and they crossed to the damaged ship through a temporary tube. Sarah watched through the helmet cameras as they breached the airlock and entered the alien vessel. The interior was beautiful, all flowing lines and soft bioluminescent lighting. But the air was thin, and the crew could hear the hiss of escaping atmosphere. Moved quickly, following the life signs to where the alien crew had sheltered. The aliens were huddled in what looked like a cargo bay, pressed together for warmth as their ship died around them. They looked up as the humans entered, and Sarah heard their translator units crackling with alarm. Easy, said, his voice calm through his suit speakers. We're here to help. We're going to get you out. The aliens didn't move. They looked at the humans with wide, terrified eyes, realized the problem immediately. His helmet visor was clear, and they could see his face. Command, they're afraid to come with us, he reported. I think it's because they can see my face through the visor. Sarah thought quickly. Can you turn your helmet lights down, make it harder to see your face? Trying that now, adjusted his suit controls and his helmet interior darkened. Now the aliens could only see a vague silhouette where his face had been. That's better, they're moving. The evacuation proceeded slowly. The aliens were weak from oxygen deprivation, and they moved uncertainly, and his team had to half-carry some of them through the damaged ship and across to the Magellan. Throughout it all, they kept their visors dark and their movements gentle. But then the Thousand Waves shuddered. Something in its damaged structure gave way, and a section of corridor collapsed, and 2 alien crew members both were cut off from the rest of the group. We're trapped, reported, his voice tight. There's a bulkhead between us and the airlock. It's sealed. Can you cut through? Sarah asked. Not before their air runs out. Captain, the ship's breaking up. We need to hurry. Sarah looked at the structural scans. The Thousand Waves was dying fast and was trapped in a section that would depressurize completely in minutes. Find another way out. There has to be a maintenance shaft, an emergency hatch, something. Turned to the 2 with him. They were pressed against the far wall, their compound eyes fixed on him with obvious terror. He realized his helmet had brightened again when the corridor collapsed. They could see his face now. I need your help, he said, speaking slowly and clearly. I can't read your ship systems. Where are the emergency exits? They didn't respond. They just stared at him, mandibles clicking in distress. Felt his own fear rising. He was trapped in a collapsing alien ship with two terrified aliens who thought he was a monster. Any minute now, the hull would breach completely, and they'd all die. He fought down the panic and tried to think. "Look, I know you're scared," he said. "I know you think humans are dangerous. Maybe we are, but right now I'm the only chance you have. And you're the only chance I have. So please help me. Where's the emergency exit?" They exchanged rapid clicking sounds. Then one of them moved forward slightly and pointed with a leg to a panel on the wall, rushed to it and found alien markings he couldn't read. This is an emergency exit." The clicked in a pattern that his suit translator rendered as yes, emergency, seal open. Triggered the panel and a small hatch opened in the floor. It was barely large enough for him to fit through, and it led down into darkness. Behind him, the clicked urgently. "You want me to go first?" asked, "but how will you?" The pushed him toward the hatch. He understood then. They were more afraid of staying with him than of going into the dark shaft alone. The realization hurt, but there was no time to dwell on it. "Okay, I'm going," he said. "Follow me, please follow me." He dropped into the shaft, his suit lights illuminating a narrow maintenance tunnel. They hesitated at the edge, then followed one at a time. The tunnel was cramped, barely wide enough for in his suit, and he had to crawl forward on his hands and knees. Behind him, he could hear the aliens following. His suit alarm started screaming. The atmosphere in the tunnel was almost gone. They didn't have suits and they were suffocating. Could hear their breathing becoming labored. "Just a little further," he gasped. "I can see light ahead, we're almost there." He emerged into another corridor, this one closer to the ship's outer hull. And there, blessed sight, was an emergency airlock. Hauled himself toward it and activated the controls. The door opened, revealing the temporary tube leading back to the Magellan. But they weren't moving. They had collapsed in the tunnel, their breathing barely audible. Made a decision. He grabbed the first and pulled it out of the tunnel, ignoring the way it weakly tried to struggle against him. He dragged it into the airlock and then went back for the second one. The alien was barely conscious, its mandibles moving in slow, failing patterns. "I've got you," said, not even sure if it could hear him anymore. "I've got you, just hold on." He got them both into the airlock and sealed it. The Magellan's medical team was waiting on the other side, and they rushed forward with oxygen masks adapted for alien biology. They gasped and shuddered as life-giving air filled their breathing passages. Collapsed against the wall, his own oxygen reserves dangerously low. Through his helmet, he watched the medical team work. They would live. They'd all live. Behind them, the thousand waves gave a final shudder and began to break apart. The Magellan pulled away rapidly, leaving the dying ship to scatter into pieces against the dark of space. The rescued crew of the thousand waves gathered in the Magellan's cargo bay, which had been hastily converted to accommodate different atmospheric requirements. They were alive, breathing, and slowly recovering from their ordeal. But they were also deeply confused. The humans had saved them. The dangerous predators who showed their teeth had risked their own lives to rescue aliens who feared them. It didn't match anything the Conquered had taught them about predator species. One of the crew members, the one who had been trapped with, approached him cautiously. Was sitting against a wall, drinking water and trying to stop his hands from shaking. The adrenaline crash was hitting hard. They stopped a safe distance away and spoke through its translator. You saved us. Why?" Looked up surprised. "Because you needed help, why else?" "We are not your people. We are the species that rejected you. We put your world under quarantine. We treated you as a threat." The mandibles moved in patterns couldn't interpret. "Why would you risk death for us?" Thought about it for a moment. "Because that's what you do for people in trouble. It doesn't matter if they're friends or strangers or even enemies. When someone needs help, you help them. That's just being decent. Even when afraid, you were afraid in the tunnel. I could smell your fear." "Yeah, I was terrified," admitted. Thought we were all going to die, but that doesn't change anything. You were dying, I could help, so I did. There was quiet for a long time. Then it moved a little closer, still cautious but less fearful. When the corridor collapsed and you could see your face again, I thought you would kill us. I thought you had trapped us on purpose. But instead you talked to us. You asked for our help. You said please. Smiled without thinking, then caught himself. The flinched but didn't retreat. Sorry, said quickly. That's a smile. It's how humans show we're happy or friendly. I know it looks aggressive to you, but I promise it's not. I'm really glad you made it. This smile, they said carefully. You did not do it in the tunnel. You only showed teeth now when we are safe and you are relieved. This is truly not a threat. It's the opposite of a threat. It means I care about you. It means I'm happy you're alive. The turned to its companion and exchanged rapid clicks. Then they both looked back at, their compound eyes reflecting the cargo bay lights. We do not understand humans, the first said. But perhaps we were wrong to be afraid. Perhaps teeth can mean something different for your species. Felt his chest tighten with emotion. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Understanding was beginning, born from crisis and courage. On the main conquered ship, watched the rescue footage with his entire team. They had received the full recording from the Magellan, every camera angle, every conversation. The humans had made no attempt to hide anything. They had simply saved lives and documented it. The footage showed humans working tirelessly to rescue aliens who feared them. It showed trapped and terrified but still trying to help the crew members. It showed him dragging them to safety even as they tried to struggle away from him in their oxygen-deprived confusion. And it showed him afterwards, talking to them quietly about smiles and friendship. Play the corridor section again, said quietly. The screen showed in the collapsed tunnel, his face clearly visible through his helmet visor. His expression was raw with fear, yes, but also determination. And when he spoke to them, asking for their help, his voice carried genuine respect. Not the tone of a predator addressing prey, but one thinking being asking another for cooperation. He was terrified, High observed. I can see it in his body language, but he kept working. He saved them even though he was afraid. And he cried, flowing through depths added. When he pulled them into the airlock, there was water coming from his eyes. Is that a human stress response? It's an emotional response, said, remembering the human cultural files he had studied months ago. Humans cry when they feel strong emotions. Sadness, fear, relief, even joy. He cried because he thought they might die. The room fell silent. On the screen was showing his teeth again, that gesture the aliens had called a smile. But they weren't retreating. They were listening, trying to understand. 3 months ago, we interpreted their teeth display as aggression, said slowly. We saw weapons and assumed violent intent, but we never saw them use violence. We saw confusion, we saw attempts to explain, and now we've seen self-sacrifice to save others. Predators don't save prey, said. They hunt them. Every species knows this. Every species except humans, corrected. What if humans are something we've never encountered before? What if they're predators who chose cooperation over competition? High's mandibles moved in uncertain patterns. That's not how evolution works. Predators succeed by being better hunters, not by being friendly. Unless friendship makes them better hunters, flowing through depths suggested. Humans hunt in groups. I've seen the footage of their ancient hunts from their historical databases. They chase prey for days, working together, sharing the kill. They need cooperation to survive. Maybe they evolved to weaponize social bonding. Felt something shift in his understanding. And if you're a species that survives through cooperation, you'd need very clear signals for I'm your friend, not your enemy. You'd need a gesture that's impossible to fake, something that shows vulnerability or trust. Like showing your teeth, said wonderingly. Showing your weapons means, look, I have these, but I'm not going to use them on you. It's a trust display, not a threat display. It's insane, Hai said, but it clicked its mandibles in a pattern that meant it was considering new information. But it fits the data. Humans show teeth when greeting loved ones, when seeing friends, when helping others. They show teeth during bonding behaviors. Pulled up the original first contact footage again. Maria Santos walked toward them, smiling, hand extended. Behind her, dozens of humans smiled too. At the time, it had looked like a coordinated attack display. But now, knowing what he knew, it looked different. It looked like welcome. It looked like joy. It looked like an entire species trying desperately to show friendship in the only way they knew how. And the conquered had run away in fear. "We made a terrible mistake," said quietly. "We judged them by our standards, by prey species standards, but they're not prey. They're not even traditional predators. They're something new, something that took the power to kill and turned it into the power to protect." "What do we do now?" asked. Looked at his team, then at the screen showing and the crew members. "We apologize, we explain, and we hope that humans are as forgiving as they are brave." The second contact meeting was scheduled for the Magellan's cargo bay. The conquered delegation requested permission to come aboard the human vessel, a symbolic gesture that put them in human territory. Sarah agreed immediately, recognizing the olive branch for what it was. Arrived with a small team, the same people who had fled from the first meeting. They found the Magellan's crew waiting for them, along with several members of the Thousand Waves crew who had chosen to stay for this moment. And every human was very carefully not smiling. Sarah stepped forward, keeping her expression neutral. "Ambassador, welcome aboard the Magellan. We're honored to meet you properly." Skin shifted through humble blue-green patterns. "Captain, thank you for receiving us, and thank you for saving our people. The debt we owe humanity cannot be easily repaid." "There's no debt," Sarah said simply. "They needed help, we gave it, that's all." "But it was not all," replied. "Your crew risked their lives for people who had treated you with fear and suspicion. That is not a small thing. It is, perhaps, the greatest thing." Sarah glanced at who stood with the crew members. "We wanted to show you who we really are, not by words but by actions." "And you succeeded." Moved closer, slowly, letting Sarah see that he was approaching without fear. "We have studied the rescue footage extensively. We have also studied your cultural files and biological records. We believe we understand our mistake now." "The smiling," Sarah said. "Yes, the gesture you call smiling. To us, to most species in the conquered, showing teeth means only one thing, violence. But humans are different. You show teeth to express joy, welcome, affection. You took your weapons and made them symbols of peace." "We did," Sarah agreed. "Because humans are predators, ambassador. We evolved to hunt and kill. But we also evolved to love and protect. The same instincts that made us dangerous also made us social. We needed each other to survive, so we learned to channel our aggressive instincts into protective ones." Skin rippled with understanding patterns. "Your species is unique in the galaxy. We have never encountered predators who reached the stars while keeping both their hunting nature and their compassion. Most predators destroy themselves before achieving, but humans made themselves into something new." One of the crew members stepped forward. It was the one had saved, and it moved with more confidence now. "Captain, there is something I would like to request. A human custom I wish to understand better." "Of course," Sarah said. "What custom?" "The smile, may I see it? The real smile, the one that means friendship." Sarah looked at who gave a small gesture of permission. Then she looked back at the and let herself smile. It was a warm, genuine smile, the kind that reached her eyes. They didn't flee. It studied her face carefully, its compound eyes taking in every detail. "It is strange," it said, "but I see now that it is not aggressive. There is no tension in your body, no preparation to strike. You are relaxed, happy." "Yes," Sarah said softly. "I'm happy. I'm happy we saved you. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy that we're starting to understand each other." The turned to its companions and clicked rapidly. Then other aliens moved forward, and one by one, they asked to see the smile. Sarah obliged each of them, and slowly, the humans in the cargo bay began to smile too. Watch this with wonder. The humans weren't identical in their expressions. Some smiled with their mouths closed, others showed teeth fully. Some smiled with their whole faces, others gave small, subtle expressions. But all of them were clearly peaceful. All of them were welcoming. "May I ask you something?" said to Sarah. "This smile, this gesture of friendship, is it difficult for humans? Do you have to think about it?" Sarah considered this. "No, it's natural. We smile without thinking about it. When we see someone we care about, the smile just happens. It's instinct." "So your instinct," said slowly, "your automatic response to seeing someone you care about is to show them you have weapons but won't use them. You instinctively prove you're safe." "I never thought about it that way," Sarah admitted. "But yes, I suppose that's exactly what it is." Skin shifted to a warm golden color, the expression for profound respect. Humanity's first contact with the conquered failed because of a smile, but perhaps that failure taught us something more important than a successful first contact would have. It taught us that the universe is larger and stranger than we believed, that even fundamental truths like showing teeth means danger can be wrong, that we must look beyond our own evolution to understand others. And it taught us, added from across the cargo bay, that actions matter more than gestures. We can explain smiling all day, but you didn't really understand until you saw us risk our lives to save yours. Sometimes you have to show people who you are, not just tell them. The crew member moved closer too. "You were very afraid in the tunnel. I could smell it, but you stayed. You helped us even while afraid. This is also human." "Very human," confirmed. "Courage isn't not being afraid. It's being afraid and doing the right thing anyway." "Then humans are very courageous," they said, "and I am grateful." Addressed the entire group, his translator broadcasting clearly. "The Galactic Concord officially requests that humanity join us as a member species. We have much to learn from you, and perhaps much to teach as well. The quarantine will be lifted immediately. Earth is welcome among the stars." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. Humans had reached for the stars with smiles and open arms, and the galaxy had finally reached back. The misunderstanding had hurt, but understanding had come from it. Perhaps that was the best way, not through perfect first contact, but through mistakes corrected and bridges built. "On behalf of humanity," she said formally, "we accept. We look forward to joining the conquered and learning from all the species in the galaxy." "And we," replied, "look forward to learning from you, especially the lesson that predators can be protectors, that showing teeth can mean love, that the most dangerous species in the galaxy might also be the most compassionate." Around the cargo bay, humans and aliens stood together, separated by biology but connected by understanding. First contact had failed the moment humans smiled, but second contact succeeded when humans showed that behind the smile was something worth understanding, a species that had looked at its own dangerous nature and chosen to transform it into something beautiful. In the end, the smile hadn't been the problem. The failure to understand it had been. And now, finally, the galaxy understood what it meant when humans smiled at the stars.